your girl Kai.
It's your boy Steph.
Erica.
Sammy Sam from the BK. You feel me?
I don't know why Sam always has to include where he's from, but all right.
Yep.
So we are going to do something super special for episode 10. We realized that we never told you all like how we met, like the dynamic of our relationships, how we grew, and how we got to the point where we are now, essentially. So today we're kind of going to talk about the nitty gritty of that, and just share those insightful things that should be very interesting, seeing as how we both met. So Erica and Sam, do you all want to start off with
Sure.
how you all met?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam is great at telling stories, so take it away.
No, I'm gonna let you do it, babe, because I just want to see if you remember the intricate details.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's the test. So we met in college. He was a sophomore. I was a freshman. And he was an EOP counselor. I got that right?
You got it right.
I always say orientation leader, but okay, anyway. And to be honest,
Shout out to EOP.
we met, like, literally the first time was him, like, I think just introducing himself to me and my friend, Honor. And, like, there was nothing that went from there. It was just like a, hey, this is my role type of thing. But then we were also part of the same organization called World Changers. Shout out World Changers. Whoop, whoop.
What happened?
Because I'm like shouting out World Changers, but like no one hears. Like it's just kind of awkward. Anyway, we met at World Changers, which was like a Christian organization on campus. He was the vice president or had some role, and I was new. So we just started getting close through World Changers, I would say.
That was changing the world.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was watching him lead the entire time, and I really admired his leadership qualities. I really admired, for those of you listening, something just happened to the mic, but no worries. I really admired Sam's leadership qualities. I guess it sounds weird, but it's not really weird because I think this happens a lot, but it reminded me of my dad. Just like the way that...
Still weird to hear that sometimes, but go ahead, continue.
And it's kind of funny because we used to call each other like brother Sam, sister Erica, like, you know, like how people call each other in church.
That was part of the group, like the part of the group thing?
No, that was like our thing.
Oh.
And like, if Erica got me like really tight or like did something that was really annoying, I would be like, okay, so now like she would be Erica. I was like, okay, now you're sister Erica because like I don't feel like talking to you right now.
Yeah.
Wait, just for clarification, nobody else in the group was calling each other.
No.
Okay.
It was just like our little thing.
Yeah. I think for me, it was like a way of not showing that I really liked him, but I did.
Okay.
But also, Sam didn't like me I liked him before he started liking me. He would compare me a lot to his sister, who at the time was, 12? So that was kind of a bummer.
That's not weird or
That
anything.
didn't feel good, seeing that I liked him.
Right?
But over the years, he just couldn't resist. You know
Oh,
what I'm saying?
Yes.
Well,
So
Wait,
I
hold on, I have a
reminded me
question.
of my dad, and I reminded you of your sister.
I actually never made
Wait, I
that
have
connection.
a clarifying question too.
Yeah.
Did you let him know that you liked him, or was it just something that you kept to yourself like for a while?
Good question.
Okay.
So what happened was I didn't tell him, but then once I realized that there was another person who was liking him as well, and I saw how they were getting close, I basically it was kind of weird thinking about it now, but I basically told on myself so that he wouldn't like her. I was just like, listen, stop giving her, I literally told him like, stop giving her the wrong impression because I like you too, or something like that. It was weird, but I basically told him.
So what happened was like Erica was like I remember it not exactly, but this is what happened. We were just talking and she was like, yeah, so like me and this other person, like we were talking like in the campus center, sitting on the atrium steps, and
Go ahead.
And like, you know, we both shared with each other, like, you know, who we liked, and coincidentally it was like the same name. And then I was looking at her and I was like, oh word, who was it? And then Erica was like, you remember when you were walking towards me in the campus center when I was sitting on the atrium steps? And I was like, oh. And I was like, oh. And Erica was like, yeah, like, you know, so there it is. And she was just like smiling at me. And I was like, oh, okay.
I don't think that's how the story went.
Okay. That's okay though.
It's y'all remember it on the.
But anyway,
Atrium
and so like
step.
Erica said, I wasn't really feeling her at first. I was just like, even when I met her, like I was just being nice, like I was like, saying what's up. And so the thing is that like we actually we have a mutual friend, right? Because that person went to Erica's church at the time, and then like they were like my brother's best friend in college. And so like over time, like Erica said, we just built a relationship. And I didn't like Erica at first, but we could talk about that in another episode about like just how that transformation happened. We don't have to dive into that right now.
No, we want to hear about the transformation now. What is the transformation, Sam?
All right, so let me not exhaust this. But the thing is that like growing up as a kid, you feel what I'm saying? Like there are certain definitions that one has of beauty, right? Mm-hmm. And because of culture, friends, interactions, I think that like we kind of go through a change, a transformation in terms of like what it is that we're attracted to. Mm-hmm. So growing up as a kid, and like in the early 2000s, it was like being dark skinned was not like the wave. I mean, like, now it's like, oh, yeah, melanin, all this stuff. Like, you know, you're beautiful. Your black is beautiful. But, like, growing up, kids are cruel. They had some real creative names for me, yo. One of them was Shadow. And then another one was 1159. So, like, it was just really bad. Like, it was terrible. I mean, I laugh now, but, like, at the time, it was just, like, jokes. But it wasn't, like, really funny. And so, like, over time, I was, like, honestly conditioned to, like, not really be attracted to like dark skinned women because like I wasn't necessarily like proud of my skin. And that just wasn't that just wasn't an aspect that I was attracted to or a type of women that I was attracted to. So I remember like and because Erica was dark skinned, and then there were also other things, other distractions in college. I remember that Eric and I, we built a really good friendship, and like we would talk on the phone. We would like not only talk on the phone but also pray together. So I remember one time when Eric and I really got close. It was for my brother's birthday. I forgot which specific one. So it was in Brooklyn at this restaurant called Milk River. So my mom was like, "Are you bringing anybody with you? Because I want to get a ride with you." I was like, I might bring somebody. And she was like, "Who's this person you're bringing?" I was like, just a friend. Erica was the only outsider that was there. Everybody else that was there was family or like really close friends. And so on the drive back to drop Erica off, we were just talking in the back of the car. And I was like, yo, like this girl's like mad cool, mad dope. Mm-hmm. And we continued talking on the phone. I remember one time on the phone, she asked me, she was like, so Sam, is there anything that you want me to pray for you? And I was like, what? You want to pray for me? She was like, yeah, like I just want to pray for you. And I was like, wow. No one's ever asked me that before. And so I was just like, yo, this girl kind of different. You feel what I'm saying? But there still wasn't that attraction there for, like I said, multiple different reasons. Nothing of her, but it was really just me. And so I remember, like, one day I was praying. I was like, God, please help me to see Erica the way that you see her. Because I know that she's beautiful, but for some reason, like, I'm just not feeling that. Because I am attracted to her, but it just wasn't there. Like, the sparks weren't flying type joy. And so I remember, like, I was praying that for, like, about a couple of days. I would say close to a week. But I was still talking to her. It just felt comfortable. It felt safe talking to her. And I remember one day she was walking in the campus center, and she was wearing this sundress with this jeans jacket. Yes, and my brother was right beside me because my brother's the one that, my brother met Erica the first day in the fall. He was like, yo, I found your wife. And I was like, you're bugging, bro. You ain't found my wife. He was like, yo, bro, I found your wife. And it was Erica. Mm-hmm. So I was like, Erica, ew, nah, bro, chill. You feel what I'm saying? And so, because I didn't see you that way. Like, we were just friends. But literally my brother is the one that picked out my wife. Mm-hmm. And so I remember Brandon was right beside me. And I was like, yo, B, who's that right there? He was like, that's Erica, bro. I said, no, that's not. I was talking to Erica last night. Okay, like that. And it was literally like no cap, like scales literally fell off of my eyes in terms of in terms of like just like my mindset of what I thought, and I'm putting air quotations around that, like what I thought beauty was. To me, like now seeing Erica like in this unfiltered way, and I was just like, yo, that was it. You feel what I'm saying? Like since then I was hooked. And going back to what I said about like, you know, being a kid and having a definition of beauty, like I remember like, so my brother and I, we like always wanted to have a wife and kids. We made a list of qualities that we are looking for like in our future wives. We're like 10, 12. You feel what I'm saying? And literally like going back to that list, everything that I wrote down is Erica.
That's lit.
Literally everything that I wrote down is Erica. And so, yeah, that was just how we met and how we got here. It was a bumpy road after that.
I was going to say, it was definitely complicated, but that's
yeah, because like, you know, Erica was playing games and it was just a lot happening. So, Stephen and Kai, tell us about y'all. You feel what I'm saying? Like, what went on with y'all?
Why you pass the mic over here?
I know Stephen was like, you know, a godly man who was just...
Well, I mean, if you know, you know. But in short term, Stephen was a slut. I'm just kidding. So me and Stephen met. We actually both transferred to Buffalo State. We went to a community college beforehand, so we met that first year. We transferred into Buffalo State, similar to Erica. When I seen Stephen, my heart skipped several beats, died, and then I came back, died again, and then came back again. I was actually in a relationship, fun fact, which is, I forget that part of the story a lot, but Stephen never forgets that part. So I was in a relationship, but child, clearly the relationship wasn't where it needed to be, because when I saw Stephen, that was just it for me. So at that point, I essentially told my friend, like, I need to know who this is. He came out, like, it was like the first week, you know how there's a whole bunch of events the first week of college. He came out, like, with the basketball team, and I just, like, locked eyes. He didn't know who I was. He didn't even look at me, y'all. I was locking eyes with him by myself. So, essentially, at that point, I made it my mission to get in his presence, but I was feeling myself so much that I was like, nah, I'm not going to pull up on him. I'm going to put myself in a situation to make him pull up on me.
Okay.
So you was plotting. Steph, she was playing chess, bro.
Mind you, Stephen had no idea none of this was going on. So we went to a house party, and I was like, Dag, I hope he's going to be here. Lo and behold, he was there being a little slide in the back, doing what stuff he was doing. This with a whole bunch of girls.
Be a little slide.
So I worked my way back to the back of the party where he was at, and I was just like, let me just dance in the vicinity so he could grab me.
Oh.
You see what I did there, right? So I didn't go up to him to dance. I just put myself in the position to be chose. So at that point, Stephen grabbed me to dance, and the rest was very bumpy. It was a little bumpy. So at that point, we essentially started talking, but I was in a relationship. I had eventually broke up with my boyfriend. I actually broke up with my boyfriend, and Stephen asked me, why would I do that? So that was...
That sounds like a Stephen type question. And I'm pretty sure he was asking just so that he could make sure that, like, y'all was really done.
No, he genuinely wanted to know why I broke up with him, because in his mind, he's like, I hope you don't think we're about to just get in a relationship. That's what you thought, right?
I mean, that's what I told you, though. I told you that I wasn't ready to be in a relationship. So I felt like I had to ask that question because I felt like she was doing that to make me get into a relationship with her. So I was just like...
Or to be like, hey, look, I'm single now.
Right,
so.
Exactly. So what that mean, you know what I mean? So I felt like I needed to ask that to get like my clarification on what was actually about the expectation of what was supposed to happen next.
Yeah, so Stephen was very brutally honest. Sometimes I wish he would have lied to me, but thank God he didn't. he was very honest and transparent while we was in college that he was not looking for a relationship no time soon. But I was in the mindset of which I learned a lot of women were back in that time of us changing a man, and because our presence is there, feeling like he's just gonna want to be with me and that's just gonna be the end of it. Well, that eventually happened, but that took about 1, 2, 3, maybe like 4 years.
See,
3 or 4
nah,
years.
No, you doing too much. See, Erica and
took,
Sam,
like-
they ain't do all that. They ain't even do
Look,
it.
I'm just here to share with y'all the truth of what happens with some college relationships. So just beware of college relationships. I'm just kidding. So yeah, so
I mean, I'm not gonna hold you. It took us a couple years too to get.
yeah, it takes
We're in the same place.
right. So sometimes I feel like I want people to know that we went through that part, but someone said a quote to me while I was in college when I was frustrated, like, oh my God, I'm just gonna leave him alone because he clearly doesn't just want to be with me. He wants to talk to other girls. And someone said, if you want to date someone while they're young, you're going to get a young mindset with it. Like a lot of times women, especially what was I, 21, 22, like we want the men that we're dating at that time, who's the same age as us, to be husband material, like right off the back. As soon as I seen Stefan walking in that cafeteria, my expectation. You're right. My expectation in my mind was like, he has to be ready for a committed, lifelong relationship right in this moment. And Stefan was still trying to live his best life, which I'm all for. But so it took us a couple of years to. I'm not getting choked up. I just think I need a sip of water. It took us a couple of years to get our footing. But once we did, we did. So, babe, how did you know? Like, eventually you wanted to stop. You wanted to put your player ways to rest.
Hang up the Captain Save.
Yeah.
Save.
Okay, I wasn't a player. I just crushed a lot. Let's be very clear, okay? But nah. I think for me the turning point for me was not similar to Sam. Not anything that Kai did. It was more so like me coming to the realization that like anything and everything that I wanted to do while I was doing it was already done. And at that point, I would have had just been selfish to be around you and like invest in the relationship that we had and that you wanted us to grow into without like actually taking the next steps myself, because I guess I was physically like there and present, but I wasn't mentally where I feel like you needed me to be. So I feel like that took a lot of praying, like Sam was saying, and took a lot of I would say self-reflection. Cause I mean, if I say so myself, I really wasn't, I wasn't nothing really at that point. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't really nothing. I was just doing my thing, and I was trying to figure out like what I think eternally I was trying to figure out what made me happy. So I feel like that time period in my life, with all of the ambiguity of trying to figure those things out, and like Sam said, like the distractions and all of that type of stuff, it really had me sidetracked on the things that were like right in front of me. So yeah, I think like to answer your question, I think that the turning point was me realizing all of that, me coming to that realization. And it had to take a long time for me to come to that, but yeah.
So I have a question for the group. Since we went through similar situation, clearly there are going to be differences like in our story. Honestly, were there things that you still had to get over based on what you had to go through in college? Not necessarily right now, but like maybe like when we first got married, or was there anything where you was like, I have an insecurity about this now because of what happened in college?
I will say that even before we got married, there definitely was, I guess it was insecurities, but also just like the trust wasn't completely there when we first got into the relationship, because of the different things that we went through in college. So there was definitely like a period of rebuilding of trust on really both ends, I would say, at different moments in our relationship. And then also it just took us a very long time to get into a relationship. Because once Sam, finally found me attractive, thanks for that. Once he was finally attracted to me, that's the best way I could say it right now. It's not like we immediately got into a relationship. Like, there was still, on my part, a lot of hesitancy. And I find that that's where a lot of people that I speak to, at least nowadays, find themselves, where it's like they like the person, but they're kind of scared to get into a relationship, or they're reluctant for whatever reason. And so that's where I found myself. So to answer your question about, like, I guess what were the repercussions in a way of the different things we might have gone through in college, I think it just took us a while to get to the place of commitment. And trust.
Yeah. I think something that used to bother me a lot, and you'll see it a lot now too, and I just want to make this disclaimer that when it comes to relationships, everyone has to choose what's best for them in that situation, which is why you heard everyone kind of talk about the process of prayer and asking God, like, is this situation essentially supposed to be for me? Because sometimes if we let ourselves decide that, then situations would turn out completely different. So I know sometimes people have this like idea that love shouldn't have to be that complicated. Like, I see posts and stuff all the time, or even women say, like, I don't want love like that. Like, I want a love that's like simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, where there's like barriers and there's other women involved and things like that. And every woman is going to have to make that decision for themselves. But I think in our situation, because we were in a period where we were so young and still trying to figure things out, and Stephen was honest about where he was in his journey of relationships, I decided through my conversations with God, that was enough for me to say, okay, let's move past that. And I can now see that he wants to be committed to me, if that makes any sense. But there was a while, like when we first got married, where I was literally still tripping off of, does love need to be this complicated? Like, is everyone's love story supposed to be completely simple, where you just meet the person in the coffee shop and then everything is just rainbows and sunshine? You guys don't have to go through any type of hurdles to get to your point. And it just made me realize that everybody's love story and relationship is different, and the reason why you need that relationship with God is the crucial part, because if not, you could be making decisions that you're not necessarily supposed to be making just on your own limb.
I definitely will say too that, like, as far as repercussions of things that happened in our past, and as far as in terms of us moving into a relationship, it was just difficult for me to trust Erica in a sense of, like, with all of my emotions and everything that I have to say. Because, like, if you know me, you know that, like, I always got something to say. I always got some question that's probably gonna come from left field, or like just say something that might get somebody tight. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like not really understanding what a filter is, or how to filter what it is that I need to say. I could definitely say that, like, I would say things sometimes that would just be like from left field, or make a comment about something, and then Erica would respond, and I'll be like, whoa, like, this doesn't feel like a safe space. I don't feel like I could really talk to you. If you're somebody that I like, I'm supposed to be able to trust you. And it took a while for me to understand that, Sam, it's not really Erica's response. It's more of a, like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, you might need to tone down what it is that you're saying a little bit. You might need to, like, not come at it so aggressively, but just, like, change your approach. And so I would definitely say that that was something that I had to learn throughout our relationship, that, like, just because Erica wasn't on the same wavelength as me didn't necessarily mean that, like, she wasn't a safe person to talk to, or the person that I should be sharing my thoughts and emotions with. So, like, yeah, that took a long time for me to learn.
Makes sense. You was gonna say something?
No. You go.
I was gonna ask too, what do you all feel about the notion of proving to someone that they're, I guess the word would be deserving, or like even outside of the situation? Because me and Stephen, like, contemplated this a lot, where in his mind he was like, I asked you to marry me, we're married, I shouldn't have to still, like, put in that effort to be like, Kai, you're the only one that I want. Like, I love you. I don't want to be with anyone else. But because we went through that situation in college, all those wounds weren't like completely healed to a point where Stefan was like, I asked you to marry me. Like, he thought in his mind that would be the end all be all. I would never have another insecurity about anything pertaining to that. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, I know. And, you know, this is great. But there was still parts of me where some insecurities would come out, and I just wanted him to be that nurturer and be like, hi, you're the one for me. I love you, and just say those words. But in his mind, he's like, he shouldn't have to keep proving that to me, if that makes sense, because marriage is the end of the line.
Well, it was, yeah, because I think that the actual comment that I made was, when does it end?
Yeah. Whenever.
He about to prove himself.
When does your defense mechanism of you being insecure, so you treating me a certain way based off of everything that I do, when does that end? Like, if we're married, what else or how much more time do we need for us to get over this hurdle of us being in this place where everything I do needs to be second guessed, everything that I say needs to be like fact checked and all of that? Like, you know, when does that end? So I, like, for me, that's where I was at with it. And it wasn't necessary. I don't think it's hard for me to like really remember like my thought process in that at that specific moment, but I don't think that was coming from a place of you don't deserve for me to show you, but it was kind of like, okay, but give me a timeline of how long I have to show you that XYZ is, you know, this way. Like, so like I think that's where it was coming from, more so than like me feeling like you don't deserve for me to have to show you, because I feel like I felt like you did deserve it, which is why I took the steps to get myself in order for us to get married. You know, that's why I did that, because I felt like you did deserve it.
No, you think I deserve it? You think I deserve a nice love, babe? Nice, faithful love, babe?
Yeah. So on that note, we're gonna wrap it up.
I also will say that there was, even for Erica and I, there was a season of proving, though. Mm-hmm. More over on my end to Erica than her to me, because of the situations that we were in, because of the different people that I was involved with. Mm-hmm. And when we got into a relationship, like officially, I knew and I accepted that kind of like if you know someone that, like, you know, struggles with alcohol, you feel what I'm saying? Like, don't bring alcohol around them. You feel what I'm saying? Or like, just be mindful of that. Be mindful of their triggers. I didn't want to trigger Erica in any way based off of like the friends that I had, the interactions that I had. So I just went through a season of like just redefining friendships, period. Because if you listen to past episodes, I forgot which episode it was, but Erica was like, Sam's the type of person where he's really nice, and that could sometimes be misinterpreted. But there was a season in my life where not only was it misinterpreted, but I was feeding into it because I liked the attention. And I think that it's very important to not only stop the behavior that caused the situation or whatever disagreement in the relationship, but do the work to try to understand of the root of where it's coming from. And a lot of what it is that I did in college came out of me not getting attention, and me wanting to prove to people around me that I'm not just this good Christian boy, which is crazy, right? And so I was like, yeah, like I could have a story too, because a lot of times when I would try to share the gospel or just talk to my friends about Jesus Christ, they would just be like, Sam, you don't know nothing, right? Your life is perfect. You do this. So I was like, all right, cool. I guess I got to get some dirt on me. You feel what I'm saying? To like make my story more relatable. Yeah. And then that led to me just like liking doing all the wrong things. Yeah. And so I knew that there was some work that I had to do to show Erica that I was different. And over time, she not only acknowledged it, but I recognized that like I could ease up, and then it became easier to kind of like just place that boundary with women, and not give so much of myself to other people, because at the end of the day, no one should have, which I told Erica, no one should have the access that she has to me. it should be a clear difference for the person that I'm with, that like that Erica has more access to me at every point in time, at any time, than anybody else outside of Erica, even my family. So it's like I have to prioritize that if I want to make this person my person for the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's kind of 50-50, like in the proving stage, because I feel like there are times where whoever was the one that broke the trust, where they do have to do certain things, intentional things to prove that like you're the only one. But I do think it could be on the other person's or the other person's responsibility to like, what's the word I'm looking for? To kind of like assess, is this coming out of a place of like there is a genuine concern, or am I holding a grudge from something that happened 5 years ago, or maybe not even that long? And so I think it's kind of like on both people in that stage to really have conversations about it.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. And I seen somewhere recently, I feel like I'm always saying I seen a quote or something. You know, I live on TikTok. But there was a quote that said that in any argument, which I'm still trying to decide if I 100% agree with, but it says in any argument between a couple, it's easy to like point the finger and distinctively say like what that person did, but you should always take a step back and think about the part you played in the situation. I personally feel like there are some situations where a partner can just be blatantly like wrong, but I'm trying to like think about that more and soak that in and think about if
What is Stephen thinking right now?
Because that just completely contradicts what she
It
just
does.
said.
I said I'm still struggling. I'm still trying to figure out. Like I'm trying to let it simmer and soak in. Because sometimes, you know, the person just be wrong and that's just it. But it is important to always look at ourselves in a situation. And this is like a good example to say like, okay, even though that person may be the contributing factor to why I feel these insecurities, but also what can I do to take ownership of this and help along the way? Because there's still some things I need to work on inside too, to know that this person chose me and I need to be secure in that. So that's where we're gonna end today.
But before we end,
Okay.
sorry, I know I do this a lot. Though we're speaking about like our relationships where we had our ups and downs and a lot of downs, for us to be where we're at right now, I also still want to acknowledge that like there are some situations where a relationship might need some type of break, or the relationship shouldn't continue. There were, I would say throughout the time, me knowing Erica, she broke up with me about like 3.5 times. And the halftime was like a little break, but it wasn't like a breakup. And so, and all of those times, Erica was 100% justified in making that decision. And that's why I said that it hurt to trust her again, because like I was scared that I might do something where she would break up with me again. And so Erica wasn't like flighty in any way. Like I said, she was justified in her reasoning, but in the moment when it would happen, I was like, here we go again. You feel what I'm saying? And so I do think that there are some situations where like a relationship shouldn't continue. And the best way to decide if it should or shouldn't is honestly to have a community of people around you who are not only going to support what it is that you think, but also give you like that candid advice and like direction. Because I think that a lot of times we go to the people who we know are going to give us the answer that we're looking for. If I pissed Erica off, or if she broke up with me and she went to her friends, they'd be like, oh yeah, Sam, it's a dub for him. You know what I'm saying? If I went to my friends, they'd be like, yo, again? But then there were those friends who would be like, Sam, you know you messed up. You feel what I'm saying? And so I definitely think that not every relationship is a relationship that needs to continue, but sometimes the best way for you to grow and for the other person to grow is for that pruning process. And the same way that a gardener prunes a tree, prunes a plant so that it can grow more, sometimes cutting off that part or that relationship or readjusting or reevaluating that would be the best step for your growth and the other person's growth. So definitely think that we should take that into consideration as well.
Nice.
And Stefan, I know. Dag, what was I gonna say? Yes, I was gonna say 100%, which is why I was also stating that I feel like me having my relationship with God, and I know this for you all as well, was super important for me during that process. We didn't go into like detail, but at some point in our relationship, on and off, on again. Me and Stefan like took like a year break where we literally did not talk at all. At that point, I was convinced we were never gonna be together. Like, didn't speak. Like, literally took a hiatus from each other. And in my mind, I was convinced it was never happening again. But that was also the year I strengthened my relationship with God to a point where I can't even tell you how I came out after. It was just amazing. And during that time, I would pray a lot about God, reveal who my partner is supposed to be to me. And he kept showing me Stefan, y'all. And in my mind, I'm just like, it just can't be Stefan, Lord. But if I didn't have that relationship with God in general, and before that, I wasn't really necessarily working on my relationship with God. So I feel like I was making decisions based off of my own self. Stefan kept telling me that he wasn't ready to be in a relationship, but because of my own wants, I was like, all right, no, I'm still going to entertain it because he's going to change for me. He's going to change for me. And then when I took that year to really focus on my relationship with God, there were many things made clear to me. One, that Stefan was supposed to be my partner, but not until he was ready to embark on the type of relationship that I was ready for. So if that part for me was crucial, I needed to know that, I needed to see that, because if not, I would have just kept making decisions based on what I wanted and what I thought was good, and not necessarily what was needed. And that was a very hard year, but we made it. And then lo and behold, Stefan turned his way around and came on back to good old Kai.
Finally, community is very important, okay? You don't only need community for your wins, but also for your L's as well. Because community is what's going to ground you, is what's going to protect you, is what's going to keep you going. Nothing and no one can do anything by themselves. You feel what I'm saying? Nothing is able to sustain itself by itself. So since there is no relationship that can sustain itself by itself, if you're in a relationship with someone right now, you listen to this podcast, or if you are single or in any stage of anything, you need people around you. You cannot be by yourself, or else you will not survive. One, that's not good for your mental health. That's not good for your physical health. And I don't know. You feel what I'm saying? Unless it's just Oscar's home for imaginary friends. So definitely, please, make sure you're staying connected, because you do not have to suffer alone and only have those W's with people around you, but those L's as well.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Okay, this was a very deep conversation, and I'm here for it. Y'all know I like the deep, juicy stuff. So we love y'all.
Pause.
We love y'all so much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys.
We hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Let us know in the comments if y'all have any questions, or maybe tell us too, what's one piece of advice that you learned in your relationship or through your relationship that you really feel like held it down for you till this day. Share with the community to this day. We will see y'all in episode 11. See ya.
Wow.